I hope you ain't missed me too much. It's good to see you again. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out with me. On your way in, please be sure to like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. For all the new folks that's showing up, yo, what's up? Welcome, welcome. For the people that's kind of just popping in and out because you're not really sure about me yet, that's cool. I appreciate you coming by nonetheless. Um, as a matter of fact, as a quick update, I just registered for my next set of classes. So wish me luck. I know I'll be stressing about school, work, and all that other stuff. Um, it's important for me to acknowledge the fact. Yo, somebody was in my comments the other day. They was like, "Yo, who do you think you are? Like a psychiatrist or whatever?" And I'm like, "Hi, you must be new here, right?" Like, so, in case you don't know, I'm definitely in school for psychology. I'm taking grad classes, so a big part of why I'm here is just having this conversation from a very different angle and just sharing perspectives that might be a little bit nuanced and a little bit different. And in light of that specific perspective, I want to have a conversation about Dot and Cole, really quick. So I had this whole crazy idea like about comparing them to Sasuke and Naruto, that of which Kid is Sasuke and Cole is Naruto. And it's really about you choose your fighter and you say what's up. And ultimately when them two niggas battle it, ooh, I'm supposed to be watching my mouth. I'm supposed to be watching my mouth because I want to be careful as I'm growing my space. Um, as they kind of fought it out in their final battle, they came to the point where they like blew off each other's arms and all of that other stuff. And there's a lot of nuance inside of this particular anime, but the important perspective was understanding the psychology of these two gentlemen and just recognizing that Sasuke or K Dot, for instance, is a god that is of, I want to say, vengeance with all due respect. And this is not me highlighting that, Dot is like by any means like a bad person or anything like that. But when I talk about these attributes and these particular perspectives, it's justifiable in its own right, but it is very, dark, if you will, right? Like that boogeyman kind of concept. Because what I see as a line of comparison between people that really, really like Dot and people that really, really like Cole, they make what I like to call perseverance rap. This idea that it's going to be hard and people going to tell you what you can't do, what you're not supposed to do. And I think that the realities of their life made them become a certain sort of person based on what road they've had to walk, right? Not different than Naruto and Sasuke. Like they became these incredibly strong fighters and whatnot, but their walk of life made them have a different outlook and a different sort of hope or perseverance or again vengeance as far as Sasuke is concerned. We know that, well, in case you don't know the story, Sasuke, long story complicated, he was in the village. I think him and Naruto was in the same village, funny. And Sasuke's brother came and like killed the whole family, like type stuff. And he managed to survive and he spent the rest of his life in vengeance. Like he's like, yeah, nah, I'm making up, like I'm getting back for what happened to my brother. Like, kindness and love is for the weak and all this other stuff. And then you got Naruto, who's lived this life of just finding himself, figuring it out, being really strong and deciding that he wants to take his strength, because particularly I think he had the nine-tailed fox and he was taking his strength and he was deciding to use it for good. This is not a perfect interpretation of it, but this is an overall concept of how I recall it because I don't watch as much TV as I used to. So don't be going crazy when you see my comparison. I say all of that to say that Naruto see an opportunity to find the good and push the good out of everyone. Sasuke was like, nah, good is a waste of time because when you good, you get your family unalive, right? So this is a big deal, right? And essentially, drawing the line between Cole and Dot is that like not to be mean because people I could see this being interpreted as a negative and I don't want it to be because I'm not insulting anybody, right? Cole is a big light skinned guy, walked through his life, and if he had decided to take on the persona, say, of a Drake, I am sure that he could have had a more decorated career, if you will. And this is not to say that he hasn't had an absolutely outstanding career, but he could have been this marketed, big shiny rapper, rap star, pop star kind of guy if he so choose. But he did. And a lot of his work, and the reason that I like Cole so much, because when I talk about these two, my preferred artist is J. Cole. So I'm gonna make that clear too. He has made a decision that he's just not going to engage in this space in the same way, and he's not going to conform to what the space requires or expects from rappers or people that look like us, right? And so inside of that conversation, the reason why I appreciate bro so much and why like this whole thing, like there's a whole bunch of conversation about it, about the apology and all that. We're gonna get to that in a second. It's not a big deal to me because I tell you no lie, I can tell you two or three different stories right now where I owe people like real life, I owe them something. And it was like, now you got it. We turn the other cheek. And there is a reality around, again, that notion of persevering and just going forward and not becoming a certain sort of human to accommodate the BS of other people. And there's a reality that it's not always going to be perfect, seamless, or it's going to look good, right? Sometimes you're going to make a decision like, I'm not dealing with that. I'm not doing this. I'm not getting caught up in that. And that means that people going to mess with you. People going to try you, because there's a reality around the fact that people don't humble bullies. People are very comfortable bullying people. We had this conversation before. The difference between confronting folks and bullying folks. And people going to talk a lot of smack. And I see a lot of rhetoric around, oh, I don't want him talking about being the best. And specifically, again, this is going to sound mean, so forgive me in advance. Like, Fat Joe, like, oh, I don't want to hear him talking about being the best. You know, Charlamagne, oh, I don't want to hear him talking. And I say this with all due respect. When people like, this is not going to sound nice, but I'm going to say it anyway. Respectfully, I don't ever have a rap conversation and it's like, yo, Fat Joe, like, I've never heard somebody say you're on their Mount Rushmore. And I could be wrong about this. There could be a space where people are having a conversation about Fat Joe and Terror Squad that illuminates them to be these greatest of greats and so on and so forth. And I would never discount that. But I'm like, sir, when would you have had the opportunity to be somebody's top 5, top 10, top 3 in any room? Not trying to be mean, just saying, if by that metric, it's like, oh, I don't want to hear him saying that no more. But I'm like, ooh, sir, like, you trying to say that because you responded to Fifth back in the day that you have the right to call yourself the best? Because I'm thinking that metric doesn't really make sense. Because if you're not the best, you're not the best. So you probably shouldn't talk like that no more. And this is what I mean. Very quickly, this conversation could get real, real nasty. But then what I really don't like about it is that people are kind of doing a whole lot of smack talking on the basis that if Cole were to respond to the naysayers now, it would make him look crazy. And so I'm like, that's the price of doing this thing of turning the other cheek. You got to be comfortable with people throwing stones at you. And somebody said something who was like asking his grandmother, like, why good people get treated bad. And it's like, you think about when you're going into a garden, when you go to pick a rose out of a garden, do you pick the good one or do you pick the bad one? And I'm like, cool stuff. So now we go back over to the other side. We'll be talking about K-Dot. We're talking about Sasuke, right? My perspective of him is that, and what I see as a common thread is that most people that stand behind K-Dot, it's that line of aggression. And again, this is not intended to be like a shot or nothing like that, but you got to look at Kendrick Lamar. And I'm like, yo, he's a smaller frame, dark-skinned man. And I could imagine that he spent a lot of his life being overlooked, being looked past, right? And having to come into a space and constantly prove himself. And his perseverance includes that line of aggression that says, I'll be damned. Do you understand what I'm saying? Where it's like, I'm not going to be constantly left out, looked over, or slept on or disrespected by anybody. And his walk of life would require him to step in and be a different type of aggression because people will, again, not see him. That's my perspective. I'm not saying by any means that that's correct, appropriate, or anything like that, but his response to persevering looks more like the fight response, more like the aggression response. And this is how come Cole and Dot have always had this overlap of fans, because I think that when you are in the space of persevering, every once in a while, these fields will overlap. These psychologies will overlap. Because I'm not going to sit here and pretend like just because I turn the other cheek most of the time don't mean I turn the cheek all the time. You understand what I mean? Which is why you're never going to catch me having a conversation where just because J. Cole is my favorite, then I'm going to talk crazy about Kendrick. Kendrick deserves what he's getting, like as far as the love and the respect and the accolades. Like real talk, like he's a nigga that works. And I think that the biggest and most important component about why he is so decorated and so well received is because he maintains that string of aggression that is oftentimes associated with people like us. And I don't think that it's a bad thing. I don't think it's a wrong thing, but do with that what you will. And herein lies where we are as far as we stand today. So listen, I'm super excited about the fall off. I'm really looking forward to seeing what comes forward and what kind of body of work he produces. Honestly, I seen somebody, like people talking about, oh, I can't take him serious. Bro is rapping about his life and people like, I can't take him seriously. He's talking about his life. You just go away if you don't want to hear it. Another thing that came up that I want to make a point to say it too. I really don't feel like folks is listening to the music with the intent to listen to the music, because people are using like rappers like their personal fighters, right? Like, again, that parasocial dynamic. And I lean into that too, right? Because again, Cole is the guy that I listen to when I'm thinking about like, I gotta make it through this thing. And so he has a point in which he says in his song, the so-called Kings, talking about Jay. So people trying to make it like, oh, he's taking shots at Jay-Z. And this is another part of the discussion where social media has created echo chambers, even into these bigger spaces amongst these bigger names and bigger faces, which is so crazy to me because I expect more context from a person like a Joe Budden, a Fat Joe, right? Like when y'all are having these conversations, I just thought that there would be more granular and deep thought about what he's saying. So he makes this so-called king, and I'm seeing a lot of content creators doing the heavy lifting of investigating and paying attention to what has been J. Cole's story. And a lot of people bring up the Saint Tropez, which is a great comparison and a great point to note, where it's like, yeah, it's the so-called kings. Like he don't believe in this king of rap thing, and it's like, yeah, the GOAT conversation, and he's had this conversation on interviews, and he's like, yo, the GOAT conversation, the king conversation, that's meant for the fans. Like the fans are supposed to do that. And more importantly, like just to lean into the rhetoric of him and Jay-Z possibly having a problem. And again, me making a note that people don't really listen to the music to listen to the music, but echo what they see on social media. Did we not listen to Voluminati on Born Center? It's the first song on the album where he was talking about the fact that he was a fan of Pac. And he was like, Pac had a nigga saying, fuck Jigga, fuck Biggie. I was only like 11, so forgive me. There is a reality where when J. Cole was signing to Jay-Z, like that is a part of his story. Coming past the point and going full circle in the moment where it's like, yo, I remember one time I didn't like him because this was somebody that was not cool. Like he was an East Coast nigga when I was cool, or I liked or preferred the West Coast people, and then went full circle and went to his studio like, yeah, I want to get to meet Hov and I'm gonna sign to Hov. Like this is a big part of his story. When your idols look you dead in your face and tell you you can't, you know that he meant you, but when you call you attempted, like I'm like, yo, y'all are not listening no more. And it's crazy to me that we have lost touch of the art itself and just letting people enjoy the art itself. Like at a time where we are watching good old Drake appeal a decision of dismissal with UMG, people are trying to convince folks not to listen or that Cole ain't shit. I don't know. Y'all gonna lose me on that one. And to further point to the fact that like I remember talking to somebody and he was talking to me and he like, yo, I can't stand Cole. And I'm like, yo, what's the problem? Like, what he do? He was like, yo, bro is so nice, but he really don't act like everybody else. Like he not getting the chains, he not doing this, he not doing that. And that humility, that humble component has always been something that people did not appreciate about J. Cole. But I promise you, that's my favorite thing about bro. That in all of this, like Crooked Smile becoming his favorite thing, Love Yours is like all of these conversations where he's like, yo, staying true to your roots and being who you always wanted to be inside of your purpose and not in the space of what is being validated about you externally, right? And even Kendrick has said that, right? Like, I never did it for the aesthetic, right? Like, I never did it for this thing, but there is something self fulfilling and justifiable inside of your own space and time, right? So, listen, with that being said, let's pack it up. I love me some Cole. I'm super excited about what's to come. And when it's all said and done, y'all just gonna have to be mad because Cole is gonna do something crazy. And I think that in him stepping away, that he's probably gonna do something that we haven't seen before. And I'm really, really looking forward to it. So I'll see y'all 2-6.